Hey there, and welcome to BingeBot, where we recap all the latest and greatest TV shows to help keep you in the loop. Today, we're crossing timelines with Dark Matter Season 1, based on the popular novel by Blake Crouch. This darkly intriguing sci-fi thriller follows protagonist Jason Dessen, a college professor who finds himself in an unfamiliar reality and is forced to face the consequences of his past. As always, if you like our videos, consider supporting us via YouTube membership, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, and you can unlock some cool perks in the process. But for now, let's get started with Episode 1. Are you happy in your life? Jason Dessen seems to have a fulfilling life with his wife Daniela and their teenage son Charlie. Their routine is simple but content. Jason wakes up to the sound of his alarm, helps Charlie with schoolwork, and makes coffee for himself and Daniela. He then sets off with Charlie, who drives him to the school where Jason teaches, and on the way, Jason receives a call from his friend Ryan Holder, who shares the exciting news that he has won the prestigious Pavia Prize for scientific achievement. That evening, back at home, Jason is preparing dinner when Daniela asks about the messages from Ryan, who has invited him to a celebration. After a tense discussion, Jason agrees to attend. And at the gathering, Ryan is thrilled to see him and even offers him a position at his neurotech startup in San Francisco. Jason, though hesitant, says he needs to discuss it with Daniela and then leaves the bar.
I'm too good for this dorm.
He and I have $100 million in our war chest, and after today, it's gonna at least triple. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Neurotech company. So? I want you to be part of it, Jay.
And you're doing all this in Chicago?
San Francisco. But, Jason, we already have the space. It's incredible. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jason's return home takes a dark turn. On the way back, he is ambushed by a masked figure who holds him at gunpoint, robs him, and forces him to drive to an abandoned warehouse. During the drive, the stranger asks him about Ryan and his job offer, and upon arrival, Jason is forced to strip at gunpoint. He tries to fight back, but he's eventually subdued when the stranger injects him with an unknown substance, causing him to lose consciousness. Later, Jason wakes up in a medical facility surrounded by unfamiliar doctors and is soon introduced to Amanda Lucas, a woman who insists that she knows him, even though he has no memory of her.
Who are you?
You don't recognize me?
What's happened to me? I have no idea what.
You've been through a lot.
She takes him to meet Leighton Vance, the co-founder of Velocity Labs, who, like Amanda, is a complete stranger to Jason. And to his shock, Leighton introduces a group of people who claim to be Jason's team. Realizing he's in a potentially dangerous situation, Jason escapes from the lab, but is pursued by security. After a while, he eventually reaches what he believes to be his home, but instead he finds Amanda there with no sign of Daniela or his family. Amanda, confused by his behavior, insists that this is her house and claims that Jason has no wife. But Jason, reeling from the revelation, flees the house in disbelief. Meanwhile, another version of Jason is seen entering what is truly his home, apologizes to Daniela for missing her earlier call, and the two go to bed together. Episode 2. Trip of a Lifetime. Trapped in a city where even the bartender of his favorite bar doesn't recognize him, Jason admits himself into a hospital, thinking that there's something wrong with his mind. Meanwhile, the alternate version of Jason enjoys a peaceful morning at home, relishing the quiet moments with his wife Daniela and their son. At the hospital, Jason's brain scans results come back normal, adding to his confusion, and determined to find answers, he tracks down the location of the alternate Daniela's art exhibition. As he leaves the hospital, he realizes that he's being pursued by Velocity Lab security, forcing him to evade them on his way to the art show. At the event, Jason wanders through the crowd until he spots a more glamorous version of Daniela, who warmly invites him and this world's Ryan to join her after the party. During their interaction, Ryan seems to know a different version of Jason and asks him how the serum that he created is working. When Jason appears confused, Ryan grows angry and suspects that something is wrong. Later, at Daniela's apartment, Jason shares his recent experiences under the guise of a hypothetical story.
He doesn't make it home. When he regains his full presence of mind, everything has changed.
Ryan dismisses it as a cruel joke and storms out in frustration, but Daniela is more empathetic and offers Jason a place to stay for the night. Back in the original world, the real Ryan receives a furious call from the alternate Jason, rejecting his offer to join the neurotech company.
I like my life in Chicago, and I'm not leaving. So that's a no to the job. Okay?
Well, shit, man. Sorry I overstepped.
With Daniela's help, the real Jason manages to trick Amanda into leaving her house so that they can sneak inside and investigate. However, when they go through with their plan, they discover that the home that Jason remembers no longer exists, and Daniela reveals that in this reality, she never married him. They return to Daniela's apartment, though, where Jason pieces together that he and the other version of himself have switched lives using his invention called the box. Jason and Daniela then share a tender moment, but their newfound connection is abruptly shattered by a knock at the door. And when Jason answers it, Dawn, a security agent from Velocity Labs, forces her way inside, tases Jason, and then shoots Daniela in the head, killing her instantly. Episode 3: The Box. Jason wakes up to find himself bound with his hands tied behind his back in a dimly lit bedroom, facing Leighton, who offers a grim apology for what just happened to Daniela. Meanwhile, the other version of Jason is enjoying an upscale dinner with Daniela. Their evening takes a nostalgic turn when they run into some old friends, and Daniela mentions that they're planning to host a party at their house the next day. Back at Velocity Labs, tensions rise as Detective Mason arrives, questioning Leighton about the disappearance of Jason and others from the facility.
According to my predecessor's notes, he was in a relationship with another employee at the time of his disappearance?
Yeah. Dr. Amanda Lucas.
Is Dr. Lucas in the office today?
The interrogation sparks a heated exchange between Amanda and Leighton, particularly about his questionable methods. Amid this chaos, Jason speaks through a security camera in his room, declaring that he is ready to remember. Though Amanda and Leighton are skeptical of Jason's sudden shift in attitude, they reluctantly agree to show him the invention created by the alternate Jason called the Box, a device designed for traveling across different dimensions. To help jog his memory, Leighton plays a clip from the day that Jason disappeared, the day that he entered the box, and hands him some of his old notes. As Jason reviews the notes, he and Amanda discuss the day that he vanished, leading Jason to learn that the other version of him had a complicated romantic history with Amanda, who works as a therapist on the project. Meanwhile, the party at the Desson house is in full swing. The alternate Jason awkwardly navigates the social scene, trying to keep up with the unfamiliar conversations. And when the festivities wind down, Daniela comments on how different he seems, and he manages to cover up his odd behavior with a carefully crafted lie. As time passes, Amanda starts to grow closer to the real Jason, but Leighton becomes increasingly suspicious, especially after learning about a conversation that Jason had with Ryan, in which he told Ryan the truth of believing that he is not the Jason that they know and love. Confronting Jason with this new information, Leighton presses him for answers, but Jason fights back, only to be overpowered by Dawn. Later, Amanda helps Jason escape his confinement, but their freedom is short-lived as they are quickly discovered. And forced to improvise, Amanda rushes them to the box. Desperate to evade their pursuers, they each inject a vial of Ryan's serum and collapse into unconsciousness. And when they wake, they find themselves in a strange, endless corridor with no clear way back. Episode 4: The Corridor. Upon further inspection, the corridor turns out to be a maze of doorways, each leading to a different world. Jason and Amanda cautiously explore, peering through various doors until they come across an ashy, desolate version of Chicago. Their exploration continues through a multitude of strange worlds until their serum starts to wear off, forcing them to re-inject it to maintain their connection to this reality. Meanwhile, the imposter Jason's once thriving life begins to unravel. He finds himself overwhelmed by the differences between his new reality and the life that he once knew. In a moment of frustration, he abruptly quits his teaching job and decides to seek out this world's version of Leighton Vance. At the same time, Amanda and the real Jason continue their search, opening door after door until Amanda becomes overwhelmed by the strange worlds they encounter and runs into one covered in deep, relentless snow. In the primary reality, Leighton is not the influential co-owner of Velocity Labs, but instead is the son of one of its founders. When imposter Jason proposes that they restart his old project, Leighton seems skeptical and begins to decline, but Jason insists that he has something important to show him, hoping to gain his interest. Back in the snow-covered world, Amanda's situation worsens as she catches a severe cold, and their search for the box becomes desperate. Luckily, Jason manages to keep her alive using blankets and a small fire for warmth. And while tending to her, he realizes that the box is buried beneath the thick snow. After Amanda recovers, they share a heartfelt conversation and reflect on their struggles and the uncertainty of their journey. With renewed determination, though, they find the box and discover its secret. It responds directly to an individual's thoughts, shaping reality based on the mind of its user. During a rare, quiet moment, Jason opens up to Amanda about his past and shares the painful memory of his second son, Max, who has since passed away. Meanwhile, imposter Jason takes Leighton for a walk through the endless corridor, revealing its mechanics and confessing his true identity as an interloper from another world. When he returns home, he faces growing tension with Daniela, who grows frustrated with the sudden changes that he's been making without her consultation. Their differences bubble to the surface, and a small argument erupts, hinting at the widening gap between them. Episode 5: Worldless. Jason and Amanda, armed with new insight, continue their difficult navigation through the corridor's endless doors. Their struggle intensifies until Jason opens a door that reveals a world completely submerged in water. Realizing that they need a break, they decide against using another ampule of serum and instead exit the box, emerging into a bleak and abandoned version of Velocity Labs. In this desolate place, they come across Blair Kaplan, Velocity's lead engineer, who had been missing for some time. Blair recounts her harrowing experience inside the box, describing the countless worlds she encountered and the grim reality she found herself in after stumbling into this forsaken version of the lab. Meanwhile, in the primary reality, Leighton is now fully convinced of the potential of the box and its multi-dimensional travel capabilities, and so he offers imposter Jason a substantial deal, $1 million per ampule of serum, recognizing the power and the value of the technology. After a heartfelt farewell to the alternate Blair, the real Jason and Amanda take another shot at navigating the worlds, and this time they step into a version of Chicago that feels eerily familiar, but as they explore further, they discover that the city has been ravaged by a mysterious disease. Jason visits what he believes to be his home, only to find out that his son Charlie has died, and this version of Daniela is suffering from the same illness. He spends some time comforting this world's Daniela and mourning their lost son together, before also visiting the home of this world's Amanda, who has already passed away in this reality. And with no place left to go in this world, they decide to move on. Back in the original reality, tensions rise as imposter Jason and Daniela have a serious conversation about the future that he envisions, a future built on his knowledge of the multiverse and the potential wealth that it brings, which she is unaware of. Daniela is left uncertain about what this new vision means for their family, especially for Charlie, and the conversation leaves them both unsettled. Meanwhile, Jason and Amanda, still trapped in the labyrinth of worlds, stumble upon a grim reality where this version of Jason is imprisoned and Amanda has died. The journey starts to take its toll, but they still press on. And meanwhile, imposter Jason gathers more ampules from his own version of Velocity Labs, preparing himself for whatever the next world might bring. Episode 6: Superposition. Back in the primary reality, Daniela decides to rekindle her passion for painting, a hobby that she had set aside for years, while Charlie has other ideas and asks imposter Jason to drop him off at the skate park. Jason agrees and, while out, delivers the ampules that he had gathered to Leighton. And on the way back from the park, he notices Charlie's sour mood and tries to lift his spirits with some ice cream. But what Jason doesn't realize is that the ice cream contains nuts, triggering Charlie's severe allergy. In a panic, he manages to get Charlie to the hospital just in time, averting a disaster, but raising red flags with Daniela. When she arrives at the hospital, Daniela is horrified that Jason could forget such a critical detail about their son's allergy. Her suspicions deepen when she later notices strange injection marks on his arm, and it only gets worse when she catches him flossing, a habit that her husband never cared for before now. The changes, big and small, leave her increasingly uneasy. Meanwhile, in the parallel world, primary Jason and Amanda are in dire need of a break. They find solace in a quiet night at a hotel, sharing dinner and talking openly about their fears and feelings, growing closer in the process. Back in the primary reality, imposter Jason seeks out Amanda, now his therapist, for another session, hoping to work through his own disorientation. But unbeknownst to him, Daniela has grown determined to uncover the truth, and after a conversation with her friend, who just so happens to be this primary reality's Blair, she decides to follow his movements. Returning home, Daniela is ready to confront imposter Jason, but he surprises her instead. He takes her to a charity auction where her latest painting is being displayed. But rather than being flattered, Daniela is furious. This is just another decision that he made without consulting her. She storms out of the event, and after a tense drive back, the silence between them speaks volumes. As soon as he drops her off, Jason heads back to his hidden warehouse, unaware that Daniela has trailed him. When she catches him at the warehouse, she manages to steal one of the ampules and hands it over to Ryan for analysis, hoping it'll provide answers to the growing mystery. As Daniela digs deeper into the truth, the real Jason and Amanda continue their struggle through the labyrinth of alternate worlds. Frustration mounts as they face repeated failures in not finding primary Jason's world, with their supply of ampules dwindling with each attempt. Meanwhile, the situation for imposter Jason takes a darker turn. On his way back from another therapy session with Amanda, Ryan confronts him and accuses him of stealing the serum that he and his company have been working on.
Is that why you didn't want to work with me? Because you're too busy stealing my shit?
I didn't steal this from you.
This compound, Jay, it's like you. Ryan, I swear to you, I haven't been anywhere near your research.
Thinking quick, Jason devises a plan and lures Ryan to the box. Once inside, he abandons Ryan in an unfamiliar alternate reality and seals the box inside a massive container of concrete, hoping to bury the evidence and the truth. Episode 7. In the Fires of Dead Stars. The Desson household soon finds itself under scrutiny as this world's Detective Mason arrives to investigate the mysterious disappearance of Ryan. She questions both Daniela and imposter Jason about the last time that they saw him, and after the detective leaves, Daniela confronts Jason about the ampule that she secretly took, demanding answers. He quickly spins a convincing story, explaining away both the ampule and the storage facility where she found it, still keeping his secrets hidden.
Ryan built it for me.
Why didn't you tell me?
He's under an NDA. Now, why didn't you confront me with it?
Because I feel like we've become strangers. And I hate it. And I'm scared.
Meanwhile, in the corridor between worlds, Amanda decides that they need a break from their relentless searching. She guides them to a utopic version of Chicago, a city free from crime and full of beauty. They spend a few peaceful hours exploring, sipping hot chocolate, and later enjoying a romantic dinner. And during their time together, Amanda reveals that this is the perfect world. Her counterpart has been missing for 2 years, and she's decided to make this place her new home, revealing that she's already obtained a passport.
You have a home you're looking for. But I don't have that. I want you to stay.
And I'm sorry that I just can't be one of them.
After a heartfelt hug, Jason says goodbye and returns to the box alone. With only 3 ampules left, Jason makes another attempt at finding his original world. He steps into a reality where his home has burned to the ground, a place of loss and devastation. He tries again and finds himself in a version of his life where he, Daniela, and their children are happy and thriving. And in this world, he gets to meet Max, the son he lost, who is still alive.
Max. Max.
It's a heart-wrenching glimpse into a life that might have been, but he knows that he cannot stay. Meanwhile, in the primary world, imposter Jason has a final therapy session with Amanda, during which he hints at his true nature, dropping unnervingly accurate details about her life that she never shared with him. Alarmed by his words and sensing something very deeply wrong, Amanda asks him to leave, disturbed by how much he seems to know about her. Alternate Jason then returns home only to be met by another visit from Detective Mason, who has some new information. She tells him that they've tracked a signal from Ryan's cell phone and presses him again about their last interaction. The pressure mounts, and in a desperate move, Jason returns to the hidden warehouse, tears down the concrete encasing the box, and kidnaps an alternate version of Ryan to take the place of the missing one, hoping to maintain his precarious cover. Simultaneously, the original Jason makes a final attempt to return to his true world. This time, he succeeds. He confirms it when the bartender at the Village Tap bar recognizes him, signaling that he has indeed returned home. However, when he finally reaches his house, Jason watches on from a distance as imposter Jason walks in and tells Daniela that Ryan is safe and that he's found him. Realizing that his counterpart is still embedded in his life, primary Jason heads to a sporting goods store and arms himself with pepper spray and a knife for protection. As he leaves the store, another Jason enters with the same idea and is told by the clerk that he was just here. The third Jason quickly realizes the chilling truth. There are multiple versions of himself that have made their way back to the primary reality, each one desperate to reclaim the life that they believe is theirs. Episode 8. Jupiter. Late one evening at the house, imposter Jason finds himself alone as Daniela has gone to visit Ryan, and while taking out the trash, he's ambushed by another Jason, one who's desperate to reclaim his life. A violent struggle ensues, but imposter Jason ultimately gains the upper hand, killing his doppelganger in the process. Meanwhile, Daniela's conversation with Ryan only deepens her suspicions about Jason. Ryan admits that he doesn't remember much about how he arrived, just that a man named Jason kept buying him drinks, a detail that doesn't sit right with her. Elsewhere, the real Jason encounters 2 more alternate versions of himself. One of them strikes up a conversation with him at the Village Tap bar, trying to piece together their shared puzzle. And later, Jason finds himself in a small diner, lighting up a cigar and ignoring the growing frustration of the waitress and the manager, who repeatedly ask him to put it out. Defiantly, though, he keeps smoking it until a police officer arrives, and to his surprise, the officer is Dawn, who promptly arrests him for the disturbance. The next morning, Daniela asks alternate Jason to take their son, Charlie, to school, but instead of following the usual route, this Jason decides to take a detour, bringing Charlie to the University of Chicago. As they near the campus, Imposter Jason spots yet another version of himself approaching them, setting him on edge. While Imposter Jason deals with this new threat, Daniela has taken matters into her own hands. She breaks into the storage unit that Imposter Jason has been hiding, where she discovers a mechanic's uniform belonging to the alternate Ryan and a collection of other incriminating items. Meanwhile, on the university campus, Imposter Jason realizes the danger of another Jason's presence. He sends Charlie to the car under the pretense of waiting for him, then corners the other Jason in a campus bathroom, where he ends the threat with lethal force. He makes it back just in time to intervene when a police officer starts questioning Charlie for not having a driver's license, but he manages to smooth things over. Meanwhile, the original Jason, now behind bars, uses his phone call to reach out to Daniela. She arrives at the jail, and their reunion is charged with emotion. Jason explains the bizarre series of events that have led him there, sharing the truth about the imposter versions of himself and his struggle to return to his primary world. Though skeptical at first, Daniela begins to believe his story, and they arrange to meet later at The Bean, a sculpture at Millennium Park that holds meaning for both of them. Returning home, Daniela finds Imposter Jason in a panicked state, urging her that they need to leave immediately. But thinking quick, she manages to lure him into the basement and locks the door behind him, trapping Imposter Jason inside. With Charlie in tow, she escapes in her car, and they are soon picked up by Jason. However, she soon realizes that this is not her Jason, and just then, another Jason rams his car into theirs. In the chaos, Daniela and Charlie escape in the car and eventually reach the Bean, where they reunite with the original Jason, sharing a moment of relief and hope amidst the confusion and the danger surrounding them. Episode 9: Entanglement. The Destin family finally finds a brief respite when Charlie takes them to his friend's secluded summer house, and as the evening settles, primary Jason and Daniela share a tender moment, where she expresses her longing for the simplicity of their old life and wishes that they could return to the way that things were. As she drifts off to sleep, Jason discovers an invitation to a chat room filled with messages from alternate versions of himself. He eventually falls asleep on the sofa near the entrance, gripping a fire poker for protection. Meanwhile, back at the Destin house, an alternate Jason discovers Imposter Jason locked in the basement. Furious to learn that Imposter Jason knows nothing about where his family is, the new Jason unleashes his rage, beating Imposter Jason to a pulp. Later, as he tries to lure Blair to the house using Imposter Jason's phone, the alternate Jason reveals his own desperate story. Imposter Jason, bruised and bloodied, claims he thought he was helping Jason by taking over his life, and believes that it was a favor. When Blair arrives at the house, she finds Imposter Jason bound and gagged in a closet. As the alternate Jason attempts to commandeer her phone to track her car, a struggle ensues, but Blair manages to wrest the gun away from him. She demands answers from Imposter Jason, bewildered by the tangled mess of alternate realities. At the summer house, the original Jason, Daniela, and Charlie share their stories with each other, catching up on the events that have torn their lives apart. Daniela logs onto the chat room and leaves a clear message for the other Jasons. She's already chosen the real Jason and not them. For a moment, the family finds solace and comfort in each other's presence, sharing a peaceful moment in bed. Unfortunately, the calmness is short-lived. Jason soon realizes that their location has been discovered by hundreds of alternate versions of himself, all descending upon the summer house and fighting each other viciously for a chance to reclaim the life that they believe is theirs. Amid the chaos, Imposter Jason emerges as an unexpected ally. He kills the Jason who is attacking the original Jason, stepping in as a momentary protector. With remorse weighing heavily on him, Imposter Jason admits his part in the turmoil, apologizing to both Daniela and Jason for the pain that he has caused. And to make amends, he hands over the keys to his car and urges them to escape, while he stays behind to hold off the other Jasons. The Destin family races towards the box, seeing it as their only chance at peace. However, once there, they find a crowd of alternate Jasons all gathered around it.
I just want you and Charlie to be safe. And you, take care of them.
Yet this time, they are not met with violence, but a strange sense of calmness. The gathered Jasons claim that they are only there to say goodbye, watching as the original Jason and his family approach the mysterious device. With heavy hearts, but a glimmer of hope, Jason, Daniela, and Charlie step into the box together. Each of them takes a dose of the serum, and they open a door that reveals a glowing, hopeful world beyond. The fractured paths of their lives converge as they step forward, hoping to finally find a place where they can truly be together once again. And that wraps up Dark Matter Season 1. Thanks for watching, guys, and for sticking around to the end. If you liked this video, consider sharing with a friend or maybe dropping us a like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We appreciate every single viewer who checks out our stuff, and if you want to support the channel further, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee. We'll be back with more recaps soon, but until then, BingeBot is logging off.